Let's see. Okay, let's see if things are live. Probably are, but want to be 100%. They are. All right. It is Friday, July 4th, 2025. So happy 249th anniversary of Independence Day to y'all. To all Americans out there, at least. Anyway, here we are in Starfield. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on currently with the Neon Lore video and what to expect going forward. So I've been working on the Neon Lore video with, I'd say, most of my free time, almost all of it. I have been working on another project as well, but not so much within the past few days. I've been working pretty much exclusively on specifically Starfield and Neon. So I can actually show you a little bit about what's going on right there. So I'll pause here real quick and I'll pull up a Google document. All right, so basically this is what I started off with here, which was just like a general checklist of things that I needed to go over. So I've got Neon Raw Lore here, the planets and moons of the Voli system, the general basic timeline we get from the website from Bethesda, and then along with that I've got the districts and all the individuals that live within these districts. The different colors here, the orange means that I have recorded them in the game as it is. Green means that it's people that I have to like grab from other footage that I've already got. Red is someone I still need to find. I still need to find out who this guy is. I'm assuming that he's somehow, or a woman, I don't actually know. I'm not great with East Asian first names to know whether or not that's a male or female name. Regardless, I will find them and figure that out. But that moved on to a course of events, and basically I'm telling the story of Neon and all of its people and all the side quests over the course of 6 days. And there's reasons behind that, because like some of these quests specifically, you can't actually progress some of these quests without it having been multiple days in between talking to these people about specific things. Just for like a quick example of that, if we go over here to the Voli Hotel, the person who runs this hotel is Minerva Clement, and she will basically she'll tell you that she's got some special deal going with Benjamin Bayou that allows her to run her hotel without interference from Neon security outside of basically as soon as you step outside her front door, they will harass you, but they won't come in to mess with her. And she says it's because she's got this deal with Bayou, but she won't tell you anything about it unless you stay with her for a few nights. Well, I ended up finding that the number of nights was 11, which I don't know if that was intentional or not. It just seemed like a kind of crazy amount of time to have to do that. But regardless, that's when she ends up telling you that she has some evidence as to Bayou's corruption, and that's what keeps her free. But again, so basically the way I have to manage that is like, oh, the captain of the Frontier learns about this on the first day, and on the last day when they're leaving, that's when she tells them. And of course in the notes I'll make sure to note that it's not just 6 days, it is actually 11 nights that I had to stay with her before she would actually mention something about that. But and so again, there's that kind of thing. Then there's the whole thing with talking to Catherine Luzon. I don't know. It's Luzion. I need to look into how to pronounce that. Regardless, where the first time you talk to her, she won't actually progress a quest with you, but the next time you talk to her, in fact, the next time you talk to her, if it hasn't been 24 hours, she'll be like, still go away. It's not enough time. And then you come back after a full 24 hours and she'll talk to you. So that's the kind of thing I got to keep in mind, is like that kind of thing. There's also one quest here called Dirty Laundry that's not possible to do until after you've progressed the Ebside Strikers quest line all the way to the end. And specifically, I think the only reason that that's the case is because her quest takes place in, I believe it's Warehouse 3. And that's exactly where the concluding quest for the Ebside Strikers takes place. So my bet is that they decided, rather than to have to come up with a bunch of different ways to handle that, they just decided Dirty Laundry is not going to be possible until you finish the showdown, that specific quest. So, again, I've had to lay out a specific order of events here. This time, I think I've put a little bit more narrative into it than I typically do. I will, of course, always make sure to note at the bottom of the video, like I did with New Atlantis, when it's an actual quest that's ongoing. Because, there's some just general stuff in there that I'm trying to put in to give you an idea of what the city's like not just direct things that you get from talking to people and stuff like that, but trying to kind of create like a flavor for the city sort of thing. And if you all don't like it, it's kind of something I'm trying to do with this one. If it's something that you all don't end up liking, I won't do it again in the future. But just like, for example, I've got it where the character ends up getting addicted to Aurora, which is the drug that is found here within Neon only. In fact, it's illegal to sell it anywhere else in the settled systems, or illegal to have it within the settled anywhere else in the settled systems. But the cool thing about doing all of this research in order to make this video is there's like a whole bunch of little tiny things here and there that I didn't really realize the first time or even the second time going through this content. But once you start actually having to write this stuff out and try to explain it to people, then you start to realize things that you didn't realize before. So I'll give you just a quick example of that right now. So technically speaking, the only place to legally purchase Aurora is within the Astral Lounge. This is a property of Xenofresh Fisheries. It's also therefore under the ownership of Benjamin Bayou, who's both the administrator and on the board of governors for the Freestar Collective. So he technically is the chief administrator for Neon, but he also effectively owns Neon because he owns a majority share of Xenofresh Fisheries, and Xenofresh Fisheries owns the majority of Neon. So he, though, will make deals with people, though, because his whole goal is to make as much money as possible. And he controls the cops. He also controls the Seoka Syndicate. So he controls both the cops and the criminals, at least one band of the criminals. And then along with that, he will actually go ahead and make deals with other groups in order to sell more of his Aurora, so long as he gets a little bit of the profit there. And one of the examples of the places this takes place is actually here at Euphorica, which they've got their own signature cocktail called the Chimera. It's this 3-layered cocktail where the 3 layers don't mix. It's an interesting thing. Regardless, they've got a lounge upstairs where the owner of the club will tell you, it's like, no, we can't sell you Aurora. That's only legal to be sold within the Astral Lounge. But you go upstairs and you find the bartender is like, oh, no, we sell Aurora. And he's like, look, don't worry about it. It's completely legal. And so I'm thinking to myself, it's kind of weird that he would say that, but if you do the full blend quest line, by which I mean basically it starts with you seeing a man being arrested within the starport, and then you follow that up. You go to the prison, you get a package from him, you take it to the liquor store where he basically is carrying the Aurora to Yannick Legrand, who owns Legrand's Liquors. Basically, if you follow that whole quest line all the way through, at the very end of it, Benjamin Bayou grants his tacit permission for you to smuggle Aurora out of the fishery in order for it to be used in this beverage. He just wants 20% of the overall profits. And so, again, it's never even directly stated, but I firmly believe that what happened here with Euphorica is he found out that they were selling Aurora within the lounge upstairs, and he decided, you know what, go ahead, and we're going to make sure that you send me a big chunk of the profits of that. So I think that's what's going on there. Alright, so, but the other thing is, if you watched my video where I was basically touring Cydonia, the way I kind of did it was just, Captain of the Frontier enters a new area, explore all the storefronts within that area. Whereas this time around I tried to include them more in a storyline sort of a situation. So, just to give you a basic outline of the first few events here, Captain sees the person being arrested below, decides that they want to investigate what's going on here. So, comes up here, doesn't really know anything about what's going on in the area, but sees that there's a Freestar Rangers location over here and thinks, oh, they're the law enforcement within the Freestar Collective, I'll go check things out over here. Sees that there's no jail cells over here, learns from Ranger Price that no, Neon Security is actually a separate entity from the Freestar Rangers, and it starts heading over here towards the Neon Security building. But stops in at the Volai Hotel because they're figuring, okay, we're going to stay here for a few days, get the whole Neon experience. Then goes ahead to the Volai Hotel, to the Neon Security. From there, goes to pick up the package out of the sleep crate area. And so again, it's just trying to introduce these things organically rather than then they went into the next store, and then they went into the next store, and then they went into the next store. So hopefully that'll work out for y'all. We'll see. So let's talk about other lore videos upcoming. So, yeah, I'm hoping to have, again, I've been hoping to have the Neon video done for a while now, but it's been actually taking a significant amount of time to get the script done for that one. I'm now, I would say, 5/7. I said this, I think it was either last night or early this morning, I can't remember, to the other folks in the Discord, and I'm still at about 5/7 of the way through because I've been working on that, but it's not there yet. And by 5/7, I mean I've done 5 of the 6 days. But there's also still notes and stuff like that. That's the 7th part. And so specifically that's things like where do you get all the Starborn interactions, places where you can randomly find free ore that you can pick up, just little weird stories that don't really seem to have any connection to anything else, stuff like that. So all that kind of stuff's there. Oh, and also all the employees of Ryujin that are not something that you can someone you can interact with just by walking into the tower over here and stuff like that. So yeah, there's that kind of stuff. So anyway, once all this stuff's done, I'm hoping that I can get the script done by this weekend, because again I'm to the point where I'm just about to start the 6th day, and the 6th day is actually the shortest one. So once I get that done, I can do the notes, and then I'll be putting this thing together. Now, it's going to be a long video. It's already up to 26 pages long in terms of everything written out so far, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that the video I did on Atlantic City in Fallout 76 was like 35 pages long, and I would not be surprised if this thing ends up being about the same length, because just there's so much to Neon. But once that's done, I will be moving on to... I was hoping to do some sort of like viewer's choice thing, but that again was hopefully something I was going to be producing in June. It is now July 4th, like I've already said. So the goal here is to move on to Fallout 3 again and restart the cycle. So what I'll end up doing is once I get closer to finishing the Neon video, I will go ahead and put the options for Fallout 3 videos up there. People can vote there and on the Patreon. And then once that's done, once this is done, I will start actually working on the Fallout 3 video, or videos in all likelihood. Because again, there are... like, if I was going to cover something in like Fallout 3 that would take as much time to cover as covering one of these major cities in Starfield, it would be something like a full-scale faction quest line. Which I still have yet to do any of the full-scale faction quest lines for Starfield either. It's going to be interesting to do that kind of stuff eventually. My hope is to finish going through the main settlements. So specifically this time I've gone through Neon. Previously I've gone through Cydonia and New Atlantis. I still need to go through Aquila City, and then I want to do like... I don't know if I'm going to do full-scale videos on these other locations just by themselves, or I may do something where it's not the case that these videos all have to be like an hour to an hour and a half long. So probably I will just produce little videos on things like New Homestead, the colony on Titan, cover Gagarin Landing, which is on Gagarin, cover Wolf, which orbits, or so, the Din, which orbits Cathonia within the Wolf system. Hey, Prince Julius. Yeah, no, I absolutely do Starfield videos as well. I've actually got... I produced the first one back in September of 2023. Let's see real quick here. Go to playlists. There we are. Starfield lore. That's New Atlantis. There we go. No, that's that video. Sorry. I've got a Starfield lore video covering the ECS Constant, covering Ground Pounders, the mission. Yeah. So yeah, and one of them now has been basically... Okay, so I'll say the video on the Singing Tree of New Atlantis is definitely, the content has been included within the video on New Atlantis, but by the same token, it goes into it much more deeply within those 12 minutes compared to the over the hour 24 minutes that covers the entirety of New Atlantis. So yeah, but again, so once I finish covering Neon, I would in the future, when I come back to Starfield again, probably in, let's see, what is it going to be? Hopefully July will be Fallout 3, then August Fallout New Vegas, September Fallout 4, and then October Fallout 76. And yeah, okay, then that's... Am I missing something here? I feel like I'm missing something here. Regardless, when I come back to... no, it should be, yeah, November that I come back to Starfield, I guess. And so at that point in time, I will... Oh, and that'll actually leave December ready for the Fallout TV series, which I think is supposed to come out at the end of the year. So I'll cover that then. But regardless, yeah, I'll start covering those other games again. When I come back to Starfield, though, I will cover, hopefully, Aquila City in one video, or again, I'll do one of these smaller settlements. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see where that comes down. Like, what comes of the smaller ones? Because again, these larger ones take a ridiculous amount of time to put together. What else, though? Because, again, most of my time has been devoted specifically to this. Let me think about this for a second. Okay, so there is a little bit of news. They cut a bunch of jobs across Microsoft, including some within Bethesda Studios. I don't know what of those jobs in any way affects Fallout 76 or Starfield or anything like that. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to making more 76 videos. I'm not sure what topic I'm going to cover just yet. Again, I'll put together a full list that people can choose from when the time comes. But I mean, there's definitely some interesting new content that that deserves to be covered. I enjoyed covering New Atlantic City, even if it was the case that the content was already, I think, a year and a half old. It was definitely very entertaining stuff. And there's definitely even more stuff to cover. At some point, I will need to cover the Gleaming Depths. Oop, dislocated a limb there. At some point, I will need to cover the stuff within Skyline Valley. I'll need to make a video on Vault 63. Hell, eventually I'll need to make a video on Vault 76. I mean, it's not going to be a long video, but it'll still be an interesting one. And I'll probably include something in there, like just a general, and I don't know, a basic storyline. Yeah, absolutely. Lore and maps never get old. But a basic storyline of what the Dwellers of 76 have done after the fact. Of course, I've kind of already done that with the story of Appalachia, or no, sorry, the story of Fallout 76 in 10 minutes. But I could do, like, maybe slightly more in depth, because if you've watched the video where it's the story of Fallout 76 in 10 minutes, most of what that is really covering the pre-scorching story of Appalachia. So I could go into a little bit more depth in terms of the Dwellers of 76 ending up, going to the airport, going down to Charleston to make the vaccine. Don't just do like a bullet list of what happened there, but actually like go in more deep detail there. Sorry, one second. Throat getting dry there. Okay, so yeah, looking forward to making more videos on that kind of stuff. I have some more. I think my dog is growling in his sleep. I need to make a couple of remakes with 76 still, but it's one of those things where if I do get to a month where I'm able to do 2 videos in a month, which is typically the case with 76, then what I'll probably do is do a remake and a new piece of content. Just because, again, like I've talked about this a little bit in the past, I want to redo things like my Senator Sam Blackwell video and stuff like that, so I'll cover that. Oh man, every time I go from playing Starfield to playing Fallout, it's so jarring because it's the same engine effectively. It's not, but it is. Because I think Starfield is actually Creation Engine version 2 or something like that, like 2.0 or whatever. But whenever you're like walking around, like I'm always jumping everywhere I go in Starfield using the jump pack. And it is always just like crazy when you start trying to do it in Fallout 4 and it's like, oh. And of course, you can always get the power armor with the jump pack on the back, but it is nothing like this at all. Because it's one of those things where it burns through your fusion core so freaking rapidly. And it's also one of those things where it's more so a situation where rather than doing little hops, it's basically like you're blasting your way up to grab onto some ledge or something like that. But let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So yeah, again, the cuts at Microsoft, no telling exactly what that will do for 76 or Starfield going forward. Oh, well, thanks. But yeah, I did see that they did a huge amount of cuts at ZeniMax Media, which is the company that makes Elder Scrolls Online, and it looks like they basically canceled a new MMO there. Well, yeah, I don't think it has anything on 76, but I do believe I saw at least one member of the Starfield team got laid off. I don't know. I would assume it's more than just one individual. It'd be kind of weird if it was really just one person. But yeah, I saw that. What else? I think we're still waiting for Gamescom for any sort of news on Starfield. The other day people were kind of thinking it's a bit crazy that we learned that Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox August 26th, I believe is the day. But still no news on whether or not Starfield is coming to PlayStation 5. And I think the general assumption is that it is. And that's the reason that we've been... that there's been such a dearth of information coming out about the next level of content is because along with working on releasing additional content for Starfield, they're probably also working on getting it to where it's ported for the PlayStation 5 at the same time. So we'll see. I'm hoping we'll see more of that kind of stuff at Gamescom. We'll see whether or not that's the case. You know, the funny thing that before working on the Neon Lore video, I'd never actually come into this specific part of Ryujin Tower. And I'd never really experienced the content surrounding neuroamps aside from the neuroamp that you get within the Ryujin faction questline. I got that. But I never came in here and saw that you can actually buy these little ones that sit on top of the face. They're kind of weak, honestly, in my own personal view. You can check this here.
I'm always stocked up on urine.
Because you look at this and it's, okay, they also sell suits for some reason. But if we come down here, you can see, and there's weirdly... Looks like 3 of them are missing. I also like that because my character's wearing a spacesuit and no outfit. There's no... It's just showing up in the underwear. But, yeah, so basically they've got intimidation chance up to 15%, diplomacy chance, and instigation chance. And this is the first time I've ever seen it to where there's, like, not one of each variety. As in the past I've seen intimidation 5 through 15, diplomacy 5 through 15, and instigation 5 through 15. But regardless, I would probably invest more money in something like this if there was more of a use to it. At the same time, though, they're not terribly expensive, so it's probably worth it if you're wanting to get something to increase your ability to persuade people and stuff like that. Yeah. No, I mean... Literally, I came in here, I would always come in here and go straight into the elevator. There's also a Tranquility branch right over here. And I knew that there was a Tranquility branch somewhere within Neon, but I didn't know it was here. And along with that, I noticed this when I was reviewing the footage of Delilah Stewart here. She grew up in a little farm colony, came to the big city hoping for big things, and found a place that's full of corruption and crime. I think one of my favorite parts of the dialogue with her is where she says that... there's no place in the settled systems like Neon, and that's probably a good thing. I did also notice this, though, that the frame for this last tea container goes right into the wall, and I don't think that's intentional. But along with that, there's also the Arboron dealership over here. Hey, Doc Vanguard Voyager. The tea lady buys contraband. Does she? I've never seen that. There's also Ken Bright here. He's a veteran of the Freestar Navy and I believe the Colony War. He sells Arboron guns here, which I originally thought were maybe all non-lethal, but you look at things like the Novalite here, and this actually does do damage. So yeah, they're not all of the Nova line. The ones that do just EM damage. So, but it is interesting how everything that that Ryujin has in their company portfolio is very slick. And I mean, I think the greatest version of that is within Tayo Astroneering. Let's see, here we go. I mean, like, look at this place. It's practically glowing. It's so white in here. You got this, like, immaculate environment where you have to assume that they must be going over this place with a fine-tooth comb every night when they close. Of course, I also will make sure to note within the notes for the Neon Lore video that there is a bit of a disappointment that I've had, generally speaking, with Starfield that has really made itself visible here within Neon, and that is the fact that they got rid of the Radiant AI system. Because when it comes right down to it, like, there is one building here that serves as an apartment complex. It's right over here past Legrand's Liquors. It's this structure right here, Ryujin Apartments. And this place is really only accessible properly during, I think it's Sam Coe's companion quest line. Because you come in here, and I can even show you what it looks like on the inside, because I can just clip through the wall. There's a full-scale murder scene in here. It's like this just all the time. It just so happens to be the case that you don't see it until you come here with Sam Coe, which, by the way, I will eventually do a video on Sam Coe. He is a terrible father. Like, I get that, like, he wants to make sure that his daughter doesn't grow up in an environment where she basically views herself as royalty because she's a Coe. But, man, you should not be taking your daughter onto a starship that is constantly in combat. That is just a terrible life. Like, yes, Aquila is dangerous because of the... man, I keep forgetting the names of those things. The Ashta. But that's absolutely not a reason to go and put her in even more danger. And the fact of the matter is, like, she runs off and gets into so much trouble all the time. And it's like, what are you doing, man? If you're so interested in raising your daughter, maybe spend some time with her on a safe planet. You don't need to constantly be out here doing this kind of stuff. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see, what else? Trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about here that... Oh yeah, I was talking about the Radiant AI system. So, just for example, you got Enhance here. So if you don't know what Enhance does, they basically are capable of turning you into just about anybody else, and like we're talking really able to turn you into just about anybody else, to where you can effectively come in here and you can even like literally change your biological sex, as far as I can tell. Hey Tenebris, welcome to the stream. Hope you've had a good week. Come on. Okay, 500 credits as well. Now, I have to assume that this is for gameplay reasons, but it would make so much more sense to me if this was... Oh, I don't have 500 credits on me. Well, let's fix that. Let's do 1,000 credits.
You'll thank yourself after you see your new look.
So yeah, you can come in here and you can, like, literally, again, change yourself into a woman for 500 credits. So it's like, it's this whole thing where it's like, what exactly is there even to... Sorry, one second. It's basically just going right back to the character creation screen. And so it's like one of those things where it's like, why would there be anybody at all ugly within the settled systems if you're able to pay $500 to literally change everything about yourself? And we're not even talking really $500, because if we go, like, let's go to a restaurant and we'll see the cost of a cup of coffee, for example. Let's go to Terra Brew Coffee right over here. Here we go, kiosk. So yeah, a cup of coffee is 75 credits. So if we let's go ahead and see and pretend that this is like something like Starbucks or something like that. And I'm not terribly aware of the cost of Starbucks coffee, and it obviously is going to vary between like a normal cup of coffee and between like some sort of Frappuccino thing or something like that. But let's assume that this is something like $8. I don't know, $6. Again, it's been a while since I've been into a Starbucks, but we're still talking at that point like. What are we talking about here? Like $50 to $100 to literally change everything about yourself into whatever it is you want yourself to be? It's just, it's a crazy, crazy thing there. And it's always the question I have of how much of that are we supposed to assume is actually canonical, and how much of that is just entirely like that for gameplay reasons. And part of that we can also have a question about because of, am I in the right spot here? I don't think I am. Let me see here. I'm trying to go to, no. Yes, it is actually, sorry. I'm going to Euphorica. Let's go into Euphorica, where we will find Danny Garcia. So in the process of doing research for this video, I learned a little bit here about Danny Garcia, which Danny is voiced by a non-binary actress. Actor, I don't know the proper terminology there. Regardless. The body type, though, is actually male, while the features and voice are female. And basically, it seems like some of this stuff is effectively been done by Danny to run from the law. So my assumption here is that it's actually a man pretending to be a woman to hide their identity from the cops. But yeah.
No way.
No, yeah, the economy of the game doesn't make that much sense. Okay, so then so talking more about the rating AI system. So like okay, let's talk about Minerva Clement here. She's literally standing here at this counter 24 hours a day, every day of the year. And never goes anywhere else. I would so much prefer it to be the case if there was like a door in the wall right here where she had her own little personal suite that she sleeps in, and at night you come in here and there's a different person behind the counter. It doesn't even need to be a named character. It just needs to be like a hotel night manager, right? Why not just have that? And then you could even do something where it's like you don't want to create an apartment for literally every side character. You create a second apartment building, and there's like actual space in the Neon Core where you could do this. Like this area right over here. Instead of filling this place up with random industrial equipment that doesn't actually serve any purpose, you know, outside of what we would assume it maybe does, you could have put an apartment building here, and it could be like Neon Workers Apartments, and there's just a door, and people walk up to it and they disappear into it. You can't even enter it as a player as like the player character, but they could have done something like that. And same sort of thing here at Enhance, where Paige Overton is literally behind that counter 24 hours a day. And then so yeah, again, it's just, this is the kind of thing that's frustrated me. And even last week we looked at this a little bit, not last week, week before last. Let's go grab Benjamin. Well, I don't know. I feel like people have seen it. Benjamin Bayou, the man who runs Neon. Hell, let's just go get his key because it's fun to look at his apartment regardless. Let's see here. I don't get it either, but too much time scripting required. No, I know. They did it in Oblivion, and that's the crazy thing is like the Oblivion remaster just came out recently, and it's like back to Bethesda being on form in terms of how NPCs live their lives and everything like that. And I've heard people say that the reason that they did it this way is because it would be annoying to people to come to a place and not have someone there in the shop. But it's, again, you could do that with some shops to where it's family owned and operated and they literally just don't stay open at night. But then at the end of the day, they could also go ahead and do it to where there are stores that are open 24 hours a day, and there's just simply there's just simply someone else there. Gotta reload that. And then there's the other kind of stuff where there's just things that are not considered. And so specifically we're talking here like bathrooms and things like that. Yeah, now you could absolutely do the home next to the shop or even behind the shop. I mean, it's a very common thing throughout history for shop owners to have lived above the shop, and it's still done now. I mean, it's not like this is something just like out of the distant past. In large cities, it's almost always the case. Shops are a first and second, like shops on the first floor, residents on the second. Let's go up to Benjamin Bayou's penthouse here. And again, we saw this a couple weeks ago, but I just want to take a look at it again just to make my point here. Outpost needs showers too, yeah. So here's the thing. You come to Benjamin Bayou's penthouse. This is the richest man in the city, the man who runs the city politically, runs the police, runs the gangs. He doesn't have a bath or a shower. Like, come on. He's got this great apartment otherwise. Like, it's beautiful. But at the end of the day, like, this one basic thing has just been completely left off. And it's like, why? And now I will grant you that most people will not have seen the interior of Benjamin Bayou's penthouse. And I will 100% say that until June 20th, which was the last time I streamed and we came in here, I hadn't seen it either. But at the end of the day, it's like, it should be in there. It should be the case that someone could actually live in one of these spaces.
You don't need to wear your helmet on this planet.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I actually put something in the script about how this place would smell. Let's see here. Sorry. Busting showers, apartments, and the structural pillars. Yeah, no, that's true. They could do that kind of thing too. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Is like, I would love it if the world felt more like it is a place where people could actually properly live. Okay, but okay. I put something into the script about how it smells in neon, and I feel like I talked about this last time as well. But Star Trek had no toilets, yeah. That's always one of the jokes people made about the show 24 is like, it's a show that takes place in 24 hours, but you never see anybody go to use the bathroom. And that's one of those things where I feel like I saw the first season of 24, but I went on for a few. And on watching that retrospectively, I came back to it a few years ago. I was like, oh man, I was much more okay with the concept of enhanced interrogation when I was younger, and it was much more recently post 9/11 than I am okay with it now. But anyway, yeah, so again, I would just like to see more of these spaces used like they probably should be. I feel like I had a thought. Oh, the smell of neon. That's right. So we're on an ocean world. It's a fairly warm world. It's like something like it's in the 80s, I think. Let's see here. Can I see a temperature? That's within this place, 27 degrees. Let's go outside real quick. And sorry to European folks out there and Canadians, but I use freedom units when it comes to temperature. And honestly, I feel Fahrenheit is superior to Celsius regardless. But let's do temp conversion. Fahrenheit is more granular. Also, like, yes, Celsius is perfectly tied to water boiling and freezing points. But what do I care about that? Let's see here. Sorry, here we go. Being close to... Okay, 27 degrees is correct. Being close to the human body temperature is what I care about. 80.6 degrees. Now, the whole thing you would have to assume as well, and this is something where I would also like if Bethesda would add real-time temperature rather than average planetary temperature, because you have to assume that somewhere near the equator is going to be warmer than somewhere near the poles. But regardless, I assume that the temperature is actually going to be slightly warmer on average during the day than 80.6 degrees, probably somewhere in the mid to upper 80s. And so you've got like an extreme amount of moisture in the air, to the point where when you start walking around in the core here, there's like literal fog in the core. And this fog is not just fog, but it's exhaust from the fish processing plant. And then along with that, you've got this place has existed for, I think, like 150 years by this point, which I don't know if you've been in old facilities, but they've got a smell of all of their own, where it's like a combination of cleanser and body odor and sweat and all that kind of stuff. And again, just rotting fish and brine and oil and rust, and that's probably the smellscape of neon. Now, I'm sure that you go into some of these places, and though it doesn't show up, I would assume that most of them would have some sort of blower where it's effectively trying to like deodorize the air within the actual individual businesses. But the smell of neon would be something that would probably seep into people's skin. It would be something where it's like, you travel somewhere from neon, and they're like, oh, come from neon. Huh? It'd probably be a smell that you could actually pick out on people that had been here. Oh, yeah. My other favorite thing. This right here is the sleep crate you can get. You can buy access to. I'm just going to clip through the wall here real quick to show you something. So, yeah, you can buy this for, I think it's 2,500 credits. Something like that. It's pretty low. Regardless, you try to like sit down here on the toilet, you're going to be making eye contact with the fishmonger out there. It would be pretty cool if they would have given you like an actual like shade on the window to to give you some privacy from the outside. But as it is, like, you come in here to do your showering, your morning rituals of shaving and stuff like that, or even just using the toilet, and you're sitting here making eye contact with the fishmonger across the street. Yeah, so
I'm not sure how much longer I can survive.
something else that also doesn't really make that much sense is the Aurora economy, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of what I mean here. Let's go ahead and drop down. Now, the other thing is, like, I have to wonder exactly how they built neon, because it's one of those things where if you're aware of offshore oil platforms, which this is clearly technology that's based on that sort of thing, and what these are supposed to be in the real world are giant spars that go deep into the water. They've got weights on the bottom, And so it keeps this pillar effectively vertical in the water, and you just use the buoyancy of the pillar as effectively the foundation that you're building your structure on top of. But how did they get that here in the first place? Because the way we do it now... Oh, apparently I'm trespassing because I'm not a employee of Xenofresh currently. I'm going to go in here regardless. The way we do it now is you build these things in docks. They're upset with me. I'm going to go hide somewhere where they can't get to me. Okay, this is where I was coming anyway. But you build those things on shore and you float them out and then you sink them. Partially sink them, and they basically will go from, I'm pretty sure I remember this being the case, they go from like horizontal to vertical as they start flooding one end, and then they sit upright. I don't know how they do that when they're flying this stuff in from off-world. But yeah, so this, like, look at this. The amount of Aurora they have stored here. Now, even if each one of these, like, the only way that this makes any sense is, like, if each one of these is, like, a single vial, and I do not see that being the case because the vials of Aurora are significantly smaller than these containers. I would assume that, if anything, maybe each one of these contains 9 vials. And then, beyond that, again, with the whole thing with economics not making sense, when you come in here and you go ahead and you make the Aurora properly and you earn a bonus, you get... I believe it's... Look at that. He's having trouble because I turned clipping off. You get paid 900 credits. And part of that, it may be based on my character's level being 126. I'm just going to go back here. Where was I? Right. They pay you 900 credits a dose. Let's go ahead and go into the Astral Lounge and we can take a look at the prices there for purchasing Aurora. Build them in space. Yeah, space dock. Re-entry is a problem for later. Yeah. Yeah, I would assume that they would like build them here, but I don't know. I would love it if they would have some sort of like historical exhibit sort of a thing here, like they've got at New Atlantis, where they've got basically the history of the settling of the settled systems. If they had something where it's like, oh yeah, they landed a ship that worked like a dock. You know, something like that. But anyway, let's go talk to Boone Morgan and buy a dose of Aurora. Well, we can't because we don't have any money, but...
Name's Boone, but if you're here for something... Oh, no. I like to call it...
Come on. There we go.
Sure.
Alright, so again, they pay you 900 if you do it well. You can buy it for 670 a dose. Now, unless you're producing more than a single dose at a time, and that's why they're paying you 900, I don't understand how that works otherwise. But along with that, it's like, yeah, Aurora is the foundation of the city. It's like, okay, how can something that only costs 670 a dose, and now I may have a talent here that is dropping the cost of things, but you got this club here with, I don't know, what, maximum, we're talking like 40 people in here right now, something like that. And let's assume that it gets busier. Let's even say it gets up to like 100 people at a time. Each one of them is using a dose, and we're talking like at a night, and they maybe use a couple of doses. How can you possibly afford to operate this industry like that? I don't know. It feels like they've got an industry that's kind of like scaled for distribution across the settled systems. And yeah, crazy party right there. It's kind of like scaled for production across for sales across the settled systems, but it's not legal to sell it anywhere else in the settled systems. That, of course, doesn't necessarily mean that Bayou's not doing some sort of deal somewhere else, but we don't know of that. At the very least, I don't know of that. So, something I was talking a little bit about with the guys in the Starfield Discord that I'm a part of is that the game feels cleaner than a lot of previous titles that Bethesda's put out. And like one of those is in the areas where it's like street dose has to be cut with something, yeah. Well, blend, yeah. Well, like for example, if you have ever played Morrowind, there's a structure in Suran called the House of Earthly Delights. And though we're talking about a game where there's never been a legitimate way to have anybody actually be naked in the games. There were literally women in underwear dancing on like a platform in Suran, and we're talking about in a game that was released back in 2002. versus this kind of stuff where we've got these people that are wearing outfits that maybe make them look a little bit like aliens that are dancing around. It's just kind of interesting. But there is also an interesting point to basically the counter of that, which is it's very rare to hear cursing in the game, and it actually does create something of an impact when Benjamin Bayou drops an F-bomb on you in the middle of a conversation where he's like actually quite threatening. It gives it more impact than if it was just constant streams of curses coming from everybody around you. But along with that, in the whole clean thing, it's like we're here in what is like the pleasure city of the settled systems, but there's not a single casino here at all. In fact, I don't believe there's any gambling in the game at all, like outside of maybe the Red Mile. And I've never actually experimented with that in the slightest, if there is gambling there or not. Because I feel like I remember people talking about placing wagers there, but I've never looked into it. Maybe there are bits of gambling there, maybe there's not. But along with that, like there's even like commentary from some of the NPCs. Specifically, I'm thinking of Hatchet, who's one of the Ebside strikers, where she talks about basically how terrible it is to try to survive here in Neon when you're basically a nobody. And one of the things she talks about is like people will sell everything, including themselves. And it's like, okay, well, I've never experienced a single person out here trying to do something like that. And I'm not saying that I would partake in something like that, but it's interesting that there's some of the stuff in the lore that we basically hear talked about, but that is not in any way reflected within the city that we're walking around in, right? Yeah. No, absolutely. Benjamin Bayou is actually, I find, incredibly threatening as an individual. Oh, into the ocean I go. Of course, the ocean, there's no swimming in Starfield, which I feel like is actually a fairly disappointing thing. Something I've actually been hoping for in terms of that. It's something that I've thought about just a few months ago at this point. Yeah, no, for an in-game, it is incredibly safe. They even took gore out of the game. Gore existed in the game. They took it out. But if we go back to the Soul system, and I think they were maybe that I think I got a flight of the system. So let's go to Earth. All right, does it show up? Yes. Europa shows up with the settlement symbol above it. It's the same thing you get here with Mars with Cydonia, and the same thing you get here with Titan with New Homestead. There's nothing on Europa, though. Like this is a randomly placed civilian outpost. We can go there and check it out just to be 100%. See if maybe they've added something with a patch that I just wasn't aware of. But my hope is, honestly, that's a piece of cut content that'll come back in at some point. Yeah. And I would love it to be the case that we actually end up getting a submarine at some point to explore the seas, and that effectively our inability to even swim will effectively be mitigated by the fact that we'll be able to dive deep into the sea. We'll see whether or not that ends up actually happening, but for now we can go ahead and just land here real quick. But Europa would be a great place for that, given that it is supposedly underlaid by a liquid ocean. Of course, that's also the case with Ganymede as well. And in doing research on the moons of Jupiter, I've learned that Ganymede probably is actually the better prospect for that kind of thing, given that this close in, you actually get an enormous amount of radiation coming off of Jupiter to where it would probably kill you within a day if you weren't properly shielded. If we get submarines, do we also get to make movies about them? Yeah. I gotta do Avatar. Unfortunately, this character does not yet have a car. Is that the settlement over there? No. Is that? That's probably it. Nope. Bridge Pharmaceuticals, radio tower. Where is this settlement? Indicates, I don't know, but if that's the case, one second, because... Okay, there's the civilian outpost. And yeah, I don't think that... Or, no, that's it. Sorry. I mean, we can go take a look at it, but my guess is that this is just a usual civilian outpost. 1 second, though. No, because that icon does it. Like, there is a orbital platform above Cydonia, or it's in orbit above Mars at the very least, of the Deimos Star Yard. But there's no orbital platform above Titan. So I'm pretty sure that symbol is just for a settlement on a planet. Also, this is not, to my knowledge, what the surface of Europa looks like. I'm pretty sure that it's supposed to be the case that the surface of Europa is effectively just completely covered in ice. Like, actually, like, significant depth of ice as well, until you get to the subsurface ocean. Which likely is kept liquid, at least this is my understanding of why there is as much liquid water under it as there is, by the radiation of Jupiter. But whether or not that's the case, I could be misremembering that. Io, though, I've learned actually makes the radiation around Jupiter significantly worse. Because Io is at just the right point within Jupiter's magnetic belts that it actually causes basically an enormous amount of material to blow off the surface of Io and become radioactive material. So, yeah. So, yeah, this is just a normal civilian outpost. I always kind of marvel at the fact that they've got a moat out front. Because it's like, why exactly? It's frozen solid. And it's always going to be frozen solid. You're here on Europa. Is that guy wearing a helmet? Huh. Wait. Not trying to punch here. Don't have anything to say about the fact that you're standing out here? I think this might be bugged. Oh, Lord. Okay. Pluto should have plutonium. Yeah. That works. From orbit, not in orbit. Okay. Okay, yeah. But yeah. So again, nothing there on Europa, but there is, of course, Cydonia here. Hardy settlers evolving. Titan, of course, has New Homestead. But yeah. All right, well, I'm going to get ready to close things down here. So if you all have any questions or comments or anything like that, let me know in the next few minutes here. I just noticed that not only is your name Tenebris, but your profile picture is also Darth Tenebris. So... Yeah, so again, I'm hoping to have the Neon video done here fairly soon. The script done this weekend. Hopefully the video, I would say, conservatively, by next Friday, I'll have that out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this out to y'all, because it's been it's been an enormous amount of work, but it's also actually been a lot of fun to put this one together. I've been learning a lot about Neon. One of the points I will be making in the video is that I don't understand how they named the planets. And the moons, because Volae Alpha makes a lot of sense. He stole the name from D&D. Okay. Yeah, no. I was very aware of Darth Tenebris from the Star Wars universe, but anyway. Volae Alpha makes a lot of sense. Alpha being the first letter of the Greek alphabet. It's the most important planet in the system. It's the one with life and air. But then you go to like, okay, well, the next one has life, but it's Epsilon. Okay, it's like, well, what's Beta? That one. Okay, and then it's like, what's that? Gamma? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, and then Delta right there is 4, then 5. It's like, what? Why is the asteroid moon of Beta higher than Epsilon, but it's also low? Like, what's going on here? What about this makes any sense? So... Again, like the later ones, the only thing that I see that makes any sense is that the first 3 planets all have their letters at the early part of the Greek alphabet, while the outer planets have all their letters from the latter part of the Greek alphabet. But that's the only thing. Even then, it's not in any sort of order outside of like first half, second half sort of a thing. So, Yeah, and I don't know why they're not ordered from the star either, and at the same time they didn't bother to get like a name. Like for example, Voli Alpha. Normally this would be Voli 2. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, and as much as I've thought about it, I cannot come up with a logical thing there. Orcus, the demon lord, prince of the dead, got killed by the drow demon goddess in battle. When the priest raised him, he went by Tenebris while he regained power and strength and power. Okay, well there you go. All right, well I'm going to close things out here. Again, hopefully by next Friday we'll be talking about the upcoming videos on Fallout 3. And so if you have specific ones you want to see there, then go ahead and think about that and get back to me next Friday. And I can see about what I can do with that kind of stuff. So have a good weekend, y'all. Have a good rest of your 4th of July, my fellow Americans. And I'll see y'all next time.